WIFS is a national organization, and as a part of that, there is the opportunity to become the WIFS National Woman of the Year. And so we are really excited to have our topic today and our speaker, which is Be Your Own Woman of the Year. And our speaker, Christy Aleckson, was awarded 2018's WIFS National Woman of the Year. Now, before I tell you any more about Christy, I want to tell you one thing, which is that tomorrow is her birthday. And WIFS wanted to give a special thank you and a happy birthday to Christy. So we have a little something for Christy just to say happy birthday to celebrate you.
That's loud. Well, you're evil in a good way. Bunch of kids like me later.
So the little birthday cake and cards. So Christy, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Now, Christy, again, 2018 Woman of the Year. She's going to talk a little bit more today about what's involved in that, what it takes to become WIFS Nationals Woman of the Year. But in addition to that, she's going to speak on how to be your own Woman of the Year, how to build your network, how to advocate for yourself. So she has deep roots here with WIFS Portland. She is one of the original co-founders of our organization over 15 years ago. She has served as president of WIFS. She served on the board for over 10 years. She also served on the WIFS National Board. So she has obviously still very involved while not on the board. She supports us, she comes to our events, she offers to speak for us the day before her birthday, which we very much appreciate. So Christy is a financial advisor. She owns her own firm, Single Point Financial Advisors. She has been in the financial services industry since 1996. So she knows what she's doing. She started really young. So Christy, with that, I'm going to pass it over to you. We're going to have Christy walk through a little bit of her presentation, and then after that, we're going to have a panel come up and we're going to ask some questions directly.
Awesome. Thank you.
First of all, you do not know how much trouble you're in right now. I'm one of those people when they say, like, fair speaking, like, it's another one thing everybody has. That didn't happen to me. So thank you. The WIFS has been a huge part of my life for the last 15 years? Really? Wow. Like, being track and something. When I started my own practice, I had been with the chapter here for a couple years, and the practice starting was not the way I wanted it to be. It was like, it just got thrown on me. It was a little bit traumatic. And this group of people is what kept me going. And there was one year that I got, it was like 35% of my referrals came from women in this group. So it really does help you to lean in for business as well as personal development. So that's my little off my planned speech moment. So today, I'm going to be brief, be brilliant, and be done. That's what I was taught a long time ago. I'm a talker, as I previously mentioned, so I told the team that I was going to do like a 10-minute presentation, and I'm going to do Q&A to keep me in check. I know my weaknesses. So we'll do a quick introduction, my story, we'll do Q&A, open Q&A, and then some closing thoughts. So, everybody wants to have their rock star moment, right? No? Yes? When I was a kid, I thought I was going to grow up and be a rock star / teacher. So my plan was, my dad was a teacher, my grandma was a teacher, and everybody on that side was a teacher. I knew how much money they made, not really exciting, but the impact that they had was exciting. And so I decided I was going to go be a rock star, be a millionaire, and then go back and teach when I didn't need the income, because that's what a child thinks. In high school, my dad followed me from junior high to high school. I'm single, and I blame him. Though in hindsight, there was no one in my hometown that I would like to marry, so no offense if anyone sees this. They're all great, just not for me. But I joke that he's the reason he doesn't have grandkids, because he followed me to high school. So that being said, he stopped me in the hallway on the way to class, senior year, it was like March, and said, "Don't do it, kid." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Don't be a teacher." And then he just walked away. And I'm like, whatever, went to class, had my day. Later that same week, I'm in art class, and you know our teachers, Mrs. Stanley. "Oh, what are you going to be when you grow up?" You know, they're so wonderful. And I said, "I'm going to be a teacher." And her face was like, At the university? I said, "No, like you." And she goes, "Oh, and went off onto the next student. And I'm like, what is up with everybody right now? This is so weird. Well, now I know they were having a horrible contract negotiation, and every teacher was miserable at that moment in time. I didn't know then. So I had this wonderful gift, senior year of high school, already had accepted a college to go to. I'm giving a shout out to Pacific University in Forest Grove, because Stanford didn't accept me. But anyway, I had this gift of being able to go and have no agenda in front of me. So I was able to just do what I wanted and be curious. I mentioned that once this morning. So my rockstar moment, I've had several, but today we're going to focus on the moment when I got to be Woman of the Year. When Woman of the Year happened when I was in the running, it was slightly different than it is today. Now you have very transparent categories of what you get points on, and back then it was kind of like, tell us why you think you need to be Woman of the Year. It's like, I don't know. That year was the last year I was on the local board. There was a moment where we were meeting, we met at the Standard Insurance building, and I remember very vividly that there was a decision to be made. The room got really quiet. I was just a committee member at that point, or maybe I was the chair of the committee, but I was not on the board, like the officers. And it was really quiet, and I looked up and everybody's looking at me for the answer. And I was like, whoa, I'm just one vote in this room. I've got to roll off this board. I've been here too long if people are looking at me for the decision, because it's not my organization. I'm just one vote. And so I found some recruiting happening and find someone else to be on the board, and then I left. So I said, this is my only opportunity to put in an application, because I'm no longer on the board. So how can I possibly be a woman here? So what they did is I think a little bit before conference, they sent out a sheet of all the people who were in the running. First day of conference, they narrowed it down to the top 3 point earners. We don't really know what the points, like there was a committee that decided the points. And it's me, Alice Tang, and then another lady down in Florida. She's actually wonderful. I'm making the point that, like, Alice and I have known each other for this whole time, and she's like a mentor or sister to me. So it was like, oh, first of all, I didn't think I was in the top 3. So I'm already like excited that I'm on the list, and it's like, this is so cool. And then they're like, and me. I'm like, well, this is exciting. I was 3rd place. So then the next day, like, voting happens.
And our winner is Christina Aleckson.
I can't speak enough about how much this organization has impacted my career and my confidence and my life. And thank you to everybody in here for being here and showing up to be awesome women in financial services.
We're still roughly, I think the number 16% now, National Financial Services. When this organization was started, it was much smaller, but I will say that when I was on the national board, I think the number was around 13%, so we haven't made much progress. And there are more numbers of women in the industry, but the percentage is still about the same, and that's why this organization exists, to attract, develop, and advance women in these industries. But how did I get here? That's what you want to know. I don't normally use notes, but this is how I'm letting myself in today. I also have to tell you my other rockstar moment relating to WIFS. Last year at conference, we had so much fun. Go to conference, it is worth every penny. There were a few of us, including the whole chapter, and me by myself, who sang karaoke on the rooftop of San Diego in front of 250 participants and whoever was stuck listening to us on the street. It was amazing. But how did I get here?
Buy a lot of coffee.
Lots of coffee. Coffee is my love language. So I will say I didn't set out to win an award. I set out to build a business, be part of my community, and serve other people. And I think that is the secret to all of this, is to figure out your zones of genius, the things that you do well, and how you can use those to help other people. Whether that's your clients, an organization that you're passionate about, other things that you're passionate about, it could be a professional organization, volunteer, your children's activities if you have children, your pets if you have pets. But what is it that brings you joy and happiness, and what are you good at? How can you mix those together to provide value to others? So I just showed up, and I say that a lot. I show up to things. So when people ask what I do, I'm like, hang out at morning events and drink some coffee. I say that where I'm at. Oh, I come to happy hours and have some wine. Like, this is what I do. But the reality is people want you to ask them about them, and I don't say that as a tactic, but I'm curious, like, hey Jen, tell me about you. How are your kids doing in college? Like, what's going on? And I do that because I want to know about her. And it's kind of funny because I did that so well that people had no idea who I was and really what I did. And I'll share one story, maybe another, but I used to go to a lot of events in Portland. I was part of what was the Portland Chamber. It's now something else, but anyway, they renamed it. I can't remember the name. It's a much better name. I just can't remember.
For the Business Alliance?
Yes, Business Alliance. That's such a great name. Anyway, so I go to events there, Portland Business Journal events. I just like the networks. But I was at an event. I met Lisa Schroeder, who owns Mothers. We had a whole conversation. I could tell you everything about everything she was dealing with that day. She had a very stressful day. I could tell you about her daughter who since passed away, her grandkid. Like, I could tell you everything about her. She knew nothing about me. Like, couldn't even remember my name. I see her again at another event. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? Oh, hi, who are you? Oh, we met that, whatever. Remember, your daughter was, whatever with her. Taking it to like there's a whole story. Oh, okay. She didn't remember, it's fine. Meet her at another event. We're in line for chair massages. It was a great event. And I said, hey, how's it going? What's going on with your daughter? She's like, wait a minute. Do I know you? So I was like, yes, we've talked several times. And I reminded her what I had learned. And then I realized, like, it's half the equation. You have to show up and also be memorable in some way so that people have a clue who you are and what you do. I actually got lectured by a friend recently about this. But the point of bringing up that story is I wasn't there to be her financial advisor. I wasn't there to like, hey, take my card, can I get your card? I was there to just meet people and see how I could be of value. So my company name, Single Point, came from the thought that I want my clients to be as their single point of contact because I've done the work. I've gone out, I've met the people, I'm like, oh, you need an insurance person? Here's 3 amazing folks, and I know them personally, and if they don't take care of you, let me know, because I want to chat with them. No, but I want to give that feedback, so I know I'm getting the best referrals to my clients. So that's kind of like how I approach things. Vice versa, I want my clients to know that they're my single point of focus. So it was one of those, like, I'm sitting in a meeting listening to this guy who wrote the best damn sales book ever, literally, that's the title. And I'm drawing out my logo, which is still the same logo today, we just made it prettier. I'm not an artist, but the person who did that is. So anyway, showing up, being humble, being curious. This is why I have notes, because I can tell you another story. Oh, and then small steps. So I joined the board here in Portland because I had a desire to have other women advisors to talk to. I worked with a guy who was, I'll never see this, who was old and should have retired before I started with him. And he was still working and worked until he was 84 and had to retire medically for reasons, like he couldn't work anymore. And I was trained by a bunch of, again, no offense to anyone watching, old white men who told me it's about tick marks. How many calls did you make? How many people did you connect with? How many appointments did you schedule? How many sales did you have? That's what matters. Your closing ratio is this. Now you know you need to call 200 people. And I remember looking at one of them and just saying, that's not how this works. And he looked at me and he's like, he was like 65 or something. He's like, I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive. I think I know what works. And that's not how I work. And I'm not going to do that. And he just said, you're going to fail at this, and walked away. I should have got the video of me accepting the award at the Circle of Influence last year. I'm good. So anyway, humble. No, sorry, not sorry. But the point being is you take the steps that you know you need to do for you. In the way you operate, going back to zones of genius. So part of this journey was knowing what I'm good at. I'm good at learning about people. I'm good at big ideas. I love big ideas. When we used to do annual dinner, it was actually twice a year at first. I don't know how we did that. But we used to do a dinner with a speaker, and it was open to the public, and there'd be hundreds of people, and it cost a lot of money. But that was a big idea, and I was great at that. I'm not the person you call to do the play-by-play or the, what color of what we're going to put where. Don't ask me for the details. You'll drain my soul. If I have to create a workflow or do processing steps in order, my soul just dies. So I know this. So I make sure that I have people around me that love processes and procedures, so I know how to do them. So why that matters in this conversation is the journey to being there on Women of the Year is understanding what are you great at and what should you not be doing. Because it takes energy from you, which takes energy from the things that you're great at or your zone of genius. There's a zone of great too. You can look there. I am talking too long now. Oh look, there's notes on the screen that I could have been using. I wrote this. And then the last part here. By the way, persistence is a word that has followed me my whole life. I played sports as a kid. I was never a starter. Well, not true. The year the new elementaries opened up and I was at the new elementary, I got to start basketball because there was like 6 of us on the team. I was also really good back in 6th grade. But I was not a starter, but I showed up and put in the work at practice, hoping to be a starter, but what that did is made our starters even better, right? Because I didn't let them just be. I pushed them really hard because I wanted their spot. So I'm very persistent. I don't quit easily, which is also a detriment. But I believe in just showing up, putting in the work, and continuing to put in the work. Not a goal of reward, but just keep going. But I have a strong passion for community and connection, and we do that in my business. The community is a core value for us. So we do things to give back to people in our community. We do stuff with our clients to do bigger community things. We as a company, like we've done the We Believe in Portland cleanup, and we've done, we go out and we're trying to make things better. And I think that's where it comes back to this organization is be involved, do things to make our world as women in these industries better. Be a advocate for other women. Having another woman in the room with you isn't a competition, it's an alliance, and that's how we make it better for other women to come in the room, is not seeing us as having a space or 2 spaces. We should have the whole table.
Yeah.
We can let them win that in. But we are great at this. We need more of us. I will switch over to the Q&A now because I will start other stories, and I know we're not here all day. Before we do that, because I know I was going to touch on this, what does the Woman of the Year program look like now? The application is online at this point, and I did print it off in case people want to take a look. There are specific questions that they ask you, and then it's a little free-form, right? But these are the things that matter. We have an amazing mentoring program. I'm not currently part of it because I've got a couple mentees that I'm working with in my broker-dealer firm, and so I opted out the last 2 years, but I have been a mentor in that program. It fills you as much to be a mentor as it does to be a mentee, and you can mentor at any level. You may not feel like you can give it back, but you can, and you can also seek out a mentor who can help you grow. Present a program. I don't know if this counts, I'm not warning. But do a program for your local chapter or national, be on the board. Circle of Excellence. You can submit, so Circle of Excellence, none of you know what that is. I can tell you.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I know this row knows. Circle of Excellence started many years ago as a way to track actual revenue that women are generating. Because there was this thought that women don't make money. I know. So you can put your name in anonymously, so it's not having public recognition if you don't want people to know what you make. But this is a way that we celebrate women who make money at all levels. There was 12 years ago, when I may have been on the national board, of dropping the lowest level because why are we celebrating? Is it 75,000? It's 50 or 75. And there was, we pushed back. We said no, because we need to celebrate all levels. And so we have a program where we celebrate levels of income. And I think the top person was like $10 million. I mean, I don't know, it was ridiculous.
It was definitely over 2 million. I think she made over 4 million.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, good for her. Yeah, more of that. And these are just the people who reported. But you can't, and the data matters because that is what the national board will take to sponsors to show them who's in the room and the revenue that can be generated, so they need to be there to have their products in front of us. So do put that in even if you're anonymous. Attend conference. I put it's fun. They didn't put that. It is fun. And it's me in Philadelphia this year. History. Oh, by the way, my dad was a history teacher, so I actually love history. There's an advice per magazine. You can submit articles for that. There's a blog, the Her blog. You can submit posts for that. There are focus groups. I've been part of them. Pros and cons. Sometimes it's hard to get organized. And then volunteering in other organizations. So, by the way, I was on 9 boards at one point in my life. Don't do that. Don't do that. Say no. Have some boundaries. But the key here is just participate. So now, oh wait, there's Q&A. This is where I pretend like I had Miss America training.
We wanted Christy to give her presentation, but as we were putting this event together, we also realized we had so many questions for her and her success and how she's gotten where she is. So we wanted to put together a panel. We have some prepared questions for Miss Christy. So one of the things I wanted to ask Christy, I've known you for a while via WIFS, we're both financial advisors, and you've talked about, obviously, one of the biggest things for you in starting your own business was the network, right? The referrals that came through from this organization. So what have you found to be the most helpful thing for you in building up your network and creating those referral partners?
Great question. And by the way, when you posted your anniversary at BPG, I was just like, how is that possible? Did you just start there last year? Just like, so I mentioned some of the pieces, really just showing up and being there to just see what connections happen. I've said curiosity a few times, but curiosity is a wonderful thing. Go in without expectation, without judgment, without like, oh, I need to get 10 business cards today because I didn't have as many for my tick marks, right? No, just go in, who's here? Oh, there's someone standing over there that looks pretty shy and like they don't want to be here. I'm gonna go make them feel more welcome, right? So just finding a way to connect with people and then listening to what they're looking for. I ask people all the time, what do you need right now? What are you looking for in your business or in your life? I do not have babysitters to refer you, but that came up once. And I had a friend who lived here who did daycare, and I was like, I don't know if she needs more kids to connect you, and maybe she knows someone. But it's just being a resource. So that's what I never collected. I collected business cards. I can hand them to you, but that's not what I did.
Christy, I would just have to say that I was there when you won Woman of the Year, and I was so proud of you. I was so excited. So
Wasn't my speech really amazing that you didn't get to hear?
yes,
I didn't know I was getting a speech.
yes, it was very good. Who was your role model or leadership mentor?
So this is always a hard question because there have been so many and so many different pieces, and they didn't know they were role models or mentors. Of course, I know this is a cliche answer, but my mom and my dad. Someday I'm gonna write a book about money lessons I learned from my parents, and they didn't outwardly teach me money lessons, but with how they exist in this world, I learned so much. And there's pros and cons to both, but someday there'll be a book. In this industry, there was a gentleman who was the vice president of the broker-dealer firm, which was very small, Northern California regional firm, when I first got licensed. His daughter happened to live here in Sherwood. And he came up to visit her right after I got my licenses and said, hey, I want to spend a little time with you now that you're licensed and you're going to be working with clients to just talk to you about this. This is the vice president of the broker-dealer firm. Like, I met him at a conference once, right? And he came to my office that day and spent, it was probably 2 hours, just giving me advice. And this is the fun part. So I was like 23, I don't know, 22, whatever it was. And he's like, you have 2 obstacles to overcome. And I'm like, oh no, what are these? And he's like, you're young. And you're thinking I'm gonna say female, right? You're blonde.
Wow.
He said, people are gonna look at you and think you don't know what you're doing. Because you're young, so no experience, and you're blonde, which has associated assumptions. And then he did mention, that there's not that many women in this industry, so you have that too. So he suggested that I put together basically a resume to hand to clients of how I could, what am I bringing to the table? And that was some amazing advice for not the resume to hand to someone, but for understanding. Because I'm young and I think I know everything, right? Understanding that if I'm sitting across the table from someone in their 60s, they're going to look at me like I'm their kid, possibly their grandkid, depending on their life. And they're going to be like, what can you do for me? You don't know anything yet. So I would say that Rob Bannister was another mentor. And then later in my career, I've mentioned her once, but Alice Tang, if you've been in this area for any amount of time, she has impacted you in some way. And we had some challenging times on the board in years 2 through 4, because we were young and we had incredible growth. We were the number 1 check. We had 120 something members by the 3rd year, which is insane. And all of us were just in a weird space. And Alice and I had our moments too, but she has the ability of kind of taking her ego out of, does she have an ego? But taking her ego out of things and saying, how can we fix this and make it work? And we had a beautiful moment that was hard. We all kind of got through it. And so that grace and wisdom has stuck with me in hard rooms since. Long answer to your short question.
Love it.
Christy, how do you advocate for yourself in situations where others aren't listening or choosing not to listen?
So I have a big brother who knows everything. I've never been hurt by him. I'm a person, well, first of all, friends of mine who we've been on boards together, they're the ones that make me do the hard conversations. So it's we need to let someone go, or you tell them I'm the one, right? So I feel I spend a lot of time listening, and that is the key, is listening. What is that person needing? So why aren't they wanting to hear me? Maybe it's because they have a sales goal and they're stressed out. If they can just give me their pitch and tell me their thing, then they might have a chance at. And so I'll listen to a point. But I would say, I'm trying to tie it back to something I said earlier, but the words are right now in my brain. Knowing what you're great at and what your zones of genius are can help you advocate for yourself in a different way. So pausing, breathing, not trying to talk over, not trying to interject, hear, and then be and now may I share what I need for this moment or what I want to contribute to this. And also being willing to walk away. It's okay to be, it's not rude, just be oh, that's great, I'm gonna move on now. And there's ways you can practice that. I've taken up so much of your time and I'm clearly not who you need to be talking to. Let me introduce you to that person I don't know.
I'll say good on you for not sticking to your blonde roots and not dyeing your hair. Love that.
Yeah, there's highlights now.
So Christy, like I said, I've known you for a while. Every time I've seen you interact with people, whether it's in networking atmosphere or whether we were part of Portland Business Journal's Mentorship Monday, and Christy served as a mentor there. And so in sort of the realm of being a financial advisor and giving financial advice, you always exude so much confidence. You have such an easy way about you and your confidence when you're speaking to people. Where does that come from? Obviously, it's probably taken some time to get there. Where do you feel like that comes from?
First of all, did I mention I want to be a rock star when I grow up? So stages are good. No, I think there's when people talk about imposter syndrome or fake it till you make it, there's some legitimacy to that. I think there are people who you think have it all together and they feel confident and they know, like Martha Stewart knows she's the bomb. That's an old saying, but I was going to swear, so I'm reeling it back in. But there's probably moments, but maybe not Martha, she's super confident, and I'm using that word nicely, but there's people who are high in their craft who then sometimes might look in the mirror and be like, do they know I don't know what I'm doing? Because everybody feels like there's things that they don't, that I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just kind of showing up, and people keep telling me I'm doing a good job. But lean into that, because trust those, we're our harshest critics. And if I listened to the voice in my head all the time, I would probably never leave my house. She is mean. But I also know that when my friends have an issue, I am the person they're going to call because I'm the one that's going to hear them. I'm going to empathize with them, and then I'm going to ask them, do you just need me to listen right now, or do you want advice? I'm not going to give unsolicited advice because toxic, just saying. But the confidence comes from experience, from a little bit of faking it until I felt like I deserved to be in the room. And also knowing that, I've been there, done that, and if I can make it easier for someone else to not have to go through that, I'll do it. And a little bit of just like, I don't care what people think about me. I do, but I don't. Like really, if Gabby's over there like, gosh, we don't have like not talk, that's her, that's not me, right? So I'm just gonna, we get the one life. I hate to be so cliche. We get the one life, and I've spent too much of it worrying about like what other people think and how I'm perceived, and I just don't have time for that. So that's where it comes from. It's just, I don't care. I do care, but I don't care about that.
Advice. WIFS is focused on attracting younger women. What one piece of advice do you have for younger women getting into the business?
Oh, don't say that. No, don't say that. Find another human, doesn't have to be a woman, to take the lead with you. So if you can find the me's, the Alice Tangs, the women in this room who've been in the industry for more than 5 minutes, find someone and just ask for time. I know my door is always open, unless I'm with a client, of course. But I mean, when someone calls me and says, hey, I'm new or I'm struggling, do you have any advice? You better believe that appointment's getting scheduled and be like, yeah, let's do coffee on Friday. Because I have a passion about getting more people, and not just that. I have a passion for people to do good work with their clients, because when I have people calling me saying, are you a fiduciary? That's a problem. We all should be fiduciaries, period. And legally, anyone who offers advice is a fiduciary. So that the fact that that's the first question, if there's a problem with the industry, right? The first question should be like, how do you work with your clients? How do I know if we're a good fit? Shouldn't be, will you do the right thing for me? Come on, yes. So I want good people in our industry, so that as the industry, we aren't looked at like used car salesmen. No offense to any used car salesmen. So yeah, I'll stop. There's more questions, so I go.
Thank you, Christy. What's the most dangerous behavior or trait that you've seen derail female leaders?
Thinking that we need to know everything and be 100% before we can be a leader or do the thing. Using a story of applying for jobs. Women won't apply for a job if they're missing one of the things on the required skills. Men will apply for the job if they have 60%, maybe even less, because they think the job sounds fun or cool or like good salaries. They should do that. So I think we derail ourselves by thinking we have to be there before we can do it. You learn in the process. When I started in this chapter, after I started my practice, I had no money. I started my practice in September of 2007. May I remind you of what happened in March 2008. Within a year, this is being recorded, so this is now public. Within a year, I had every credit card was maxed. I had no money left in my savings. I took on a renter, and my retirement plan had been cashed out within 2 years, just to keep my life going. Right? So I don't recommend that to anyone, but I had to do that because I had a vision and goal and all those working like, I had a dream, I did. And I knew I was doing good work and it was timing. I don't have that problem now, there's money in the dough. I did a big house project last year, so I look at my savings account and I cry. Some days I'm like, where did all that money go? I do love my pension. But I took a leap because I knew I could do it, and I didn't have a question about my ability. I had a question about when is this economy going to turn around? When are people not going to be afraid? But I just kept showing up and doing the things, and it was hard. And here I am.
So that leads me perfectly to the next question. Thank you, Christy. So looking back over your almost 30-year career, obviously there's been struggles, there's been, times where you've had to leverage credit and really, struggle through it. But what is one thing looking back, as successful as you are, that you feel like you would have done differently, that you could give advice to somebody?
Yeah, and first of all, maintain a good credit score. That's how I had all the credit available to me. It's like, I had all these stupid credit cards and high limits. I'm like, I'm never going to use that. I'm like, so grateful I had that. Ask me the question, like the last part of the question again.
What would you have done differently?
I was like, I was starting on a different diet. She's like, no, that's not what she asked. Don't go that direction. So a couple things I would have done differently. I stayed in my first job in this industry for 11 years, and I should have left probably after 2 and gone to a different office. The office was horribly toxic, and like I mentioned, that gentleman retired at 84 because he physically could no longer work. But they had promised to sell me the business, so I stayed thinking that I was taking care of the clients that were going to be mine. I should have left, but I did not know. I'm a Taurus, born in the year of the ox, so I'm super, super stubborn, but also super loyal. And I felt like I was being loyal to the clients and the family that owned the company. I was never loyal to myself in that process, and that's a problem. So I would have left that company sooner. Also, when I bought my first business, so I built my own practice, and then I bought a retiring advisor's practice who I knew for, actually we've been in the industry at the same time, but many years, but she had a 30-year career at OHSU first. I would have negotiated that differently. I felt very much like I was in a position where I didn't have a say in a lot of the things because she was being so generous to sell me her practice and at a very reasonable, scenario. But I would have negotiated that very differently. And there is a podcast out about that specific thing from years ago. I could probably find it on here. But yeah, the times where I put myself in second place or third place or fourth place, I would have done those differently. They all gave me skills and confidence and experiences that have made me successful today. But I didn't need 11 years of the torture to learn the lesson. Apparently I did, because it was 11 years.
Perfect. You come across so confident, but have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome?
Hey, I may have.
And how did you navigate your way through it?
Yeah, and so I'll go back to the time I just mentioned. There's nothing more imposter syndrome than showing up in boardrooms where you're on board, especially on a national organization, knowing that it is scraping pennies to be in the room, because that board meeting was in, I can't remember, Boston and Orlando, and you have to pay to go to them. And you're like, yeah, but I got $30,000 credit card debt and like $10 in my checking account. How is this going to happen? So yes, imposter syndrome, absolutely. And it goes back to persistence, and I know my ability. It's kind of funny because when I look back at what I went through, and there's other personal stuff happening in my life at these times too. It's not just business. And I think about those years where they all just like are that in my brain, like, oh, those were some bad years. But no one ever can take my little like Pollyanna hope light away. Like no one would be like, oh, I'm plucking your hope. It's all bad. I'd always be like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to keep doing the things and showing up. And I did. And but yeah, there was several years there where it was like, do they know that I have no money to pay the entry fee to this event? And I figured it out.
Do you have any suggestions for negotiating a higher salary?
Yes. We did a lunch and learn probably like 8 years ago. Mel, I can't think of Melanie. She's a famous negotiator who lives here. She's written books. It's hyphenated last name. And it was so, so wonderful. And I think that was probably the ones that got the most questions, like, what happened? But I think the first thing is do some research and understand what the role is that you're being asked to do pays in this area. So that same role in Kansas is going to pay differently because the cost of living in Kansas is different, right? So don't take the national average for a XYZ role. Look up in Portland, Robert Half, Bowley Welch, all these places have guides for salary for here. Google is your friend. Ask colleagues. But then know what you're worth, know what you need, know what you're looking for, and then bring that to the table. If they say no, that's okay. You're no worse off. You don't lose by asking. You don't win by not asking. So you might not get the full package you're wanting, but you'll get something possibly. The other piece of it is to practice the negotiation with a friend. Another fun WIFS story. There was a member who lives in Ireland now, but she was negotiating a package with her new job. And she actually was one who's still here. I forgot about Stephanie. But we met and we role-played the negotiation. Like, she got to practice saying what she was going to say and asking what she wanted. And we gave her feedback, gave her hard questions. I'm sure it wasn't as hard in the room as it was with us. So just be really secure and confident in what you want and know what your limits are. If there's potential in the job, real potential, not like one day we're going to go public and give us shares, but real potential, be a little more flexible, but get what you want. I mean, know what you want, do the research, what's reasonable, and then go with your plan and practice.
So I know we're right at 9 o'clock. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Christy, why don't you give us your closing remarks, and we'll open it up to the floor for any questions.
I think I have closing remarks, but I think the next slide doesn't reflect that. Oh, what questions do you have about Stars? Wait, come back. Oh, look at that photo. That was people that's actually a photo of the people in the room when I got announced, clapping and cheering. People were standing. It was crazy. But I really do believe everybody deserves a rock star moment, whatever that means to you. It could be anything, but you do have to put the effort to get there and do it in a way that is not just about you, right? I mean, it is about you, but be authentic. Pursue the process in a meaningful way, not just to get an award. I didn't do anything I did to get an award. I literally said, well, I guess I could apply. It's really the last opportunity. That's how I went into this whole process, and then look what happened. But keep in mind what you get from this. Reputation. So, fun fact, the next year after winning this, I won Women of Influence from the Portland Business Journal. I have that on my list. Like, one day I want to be a Women of Influence, winner. And I was thinking, like, in 10 years, right? Like, in 15 years, I'll be a Woman of Influence in Portland. And then I got that, and I will admit, I opened that envelope. They sent an envelope that has, like, the plastic thing, you think it's a bill. I opened it up, I'm like, what? Oh, I'm crying. Like, it was a whole moment. You build your community, which can then reap rewards in many ways that you don't even understand while you're in the process. You actually get influence. So now when I'm calling people out, so I'm on this mission this year to re-earn my Women of Influence Award from the Portland Business Journal. Not re-earn it in the sense of winning it, but re-earn it in the sense of being a connector in Portland, in the metro area. So I've been scheduling coffees and lunches and dinners with people that I would really like to have time with no underlying trying to get them as clients. It is really just like, how are you? What do you need in your life? Like, what's going on? Let's connect. And it's been amazing. And I actually have got 3 clients in the pipeline process, the pipeline from that, with zero intention of that happening. So, increase in business. And then legacy. What are you trying to do? Since being a child, I've been a radical little person, radical once. I want to leave the world better than when I found it, right? So that is my definition of success. So that's the legacy I'm trying to leave, is how can I make things better while I'm here? So that is my remarks. And look, they made me give a speech.